Welcome everybody again. Hope you're all keeping well. So I'll just go through my little bit before Sam takes over. So where are we going? Yeah, so future meetings. I think most of you know these anyway, and I think I've spelt all the names correctly this time as well. So next Tuesday, we've got Mike talking about variable stars, and then Mark Gibbons on the Tuesday after, fast radio burst. I haven't got anything really organised for next Thursday, but if you've got any suggestions, then throw them forward. If you've got any images to share, that'd be great. 7th of July, Martin Lewis is going to be talking about his night side imaging of Venus of infrared light. And then Ian Ridpath is going to be talking about pictures in the sky. And then Chris Lintott, we got the end of July talking about the Zooniverse. So I've sent a few more emails out today. So hopefully we'll get a few more speakers going forward. So that'd be good. It's good fun. So just a reminder, from July, I'm going to switch just to Tuesday evenings because things are getting really busy at the moment. Do some ad hoc live streaming and stuff, and maybe a Thursday if I get time thrown in, but just keep an eye on the website for any of those. Just to throw in a reminder, Saturday 27th, we've got an Affinity Photo virtual workshop. And if you haven't ordered Affinity Photo and you want an alternative to Photoshop at a much more affordable price, until the 20th of July, it's $23.99. There's nothing else to pay until they do a major upgrade. So all the updates up until version 2, I think they're on 1.8 something now. But I don't think there's a plan for a version 2 yet. But it's only $23.99. Then that's a one-off cost, unlike Photoshop, which is about £10 a month. And so in 3 months, you've got your money back, more than. In 4 months, you've had a workshop as well, but there you go. Okay, just a reminder, tomorrow morning, it's clear now, but is it going to be clear tomorrow? We've got the occultation of Venus by the moon. So just a reminder, I think I spoke about this before. So this is the view about 8:36. And of course, Venus is going to appear much, much brighter than the moon will. And at about 8:40, you see it just start to encroach on Venus. But of course, you're not going to see that because that'll be in daylight. So you're not going to see the dark side of Venus at all. And yeah, so about 8:40 it starts. And then 8:41, you see this little hook of Venus sticking out of the moon's limb, which would be great. And then, of course, it comes out the other side. It's about an hour and 3 minutes before it comes out the other side. So about 9:44. But it's going to be hard to point your telescope in exactly the right spot. It's about here somewhere. So you've got to have to guess where that's going to be and get that right. So
can I ask you a question, please?
So yeah, go on.
Just as the times that you've shown there, are they British summertime or universal time?
I think they're British summertime, but I'll have to check.
They are British summertime, Dave.
They are British summertime, yeah.
Yeah, and it'll be a little bit of a differential throughout the length of the country as well.
Yeah,
so it'll just be
hold on, let me get this right. If you're further east, it'll happen later. Is that right?
Probably.
Yeah. If you're east, it happens later, and if you're further west, it'll happen earlier. So bear that in mind.
Yeah.
So it roughly crosses about there. So I'm going to try and get my telescope in the right spot to video it coming out the other side. So there's my challenge for myself. So whether I manage or not, and then I see it start to appear and I have to move the scope, that's what I don't want to do. But I'm going to give it a go. If it's clear. But it's clear, really clear now. It's been horrible all day. So there you go. So don't forget that. If you get clear skies tomorrow, get out and have a look.
You'll be lucky. It's been raining all day.
Yeah, was here all day, but it's clear now. But I bet it won't last. And then the very end of it is at 9:46 for me. That is anyway. Okay, so that's tomorrow. And of course, we're approaching the solstice. So Sam has agreed to come in and talk about the Solarcan. So Sam, if you'd like to introduce yourself and share your screen and tell everybody all about the Solarcan.
Sure thing. Thanks, Dave. Thanks everyone for inviting me in here, and I'm very happy to talk about Solarcan. I'm not sure how this works. Are you seeing me now?
We can see you, but we can't see your screen. So if everybody else can turn off that. Let me just mute everyone else.
Okay. So this is my workshop that I'm in at the moment.
One minute, Sam. I'll just mute everybody, and then I'll unmute you. There you go.
Everyone's zipped up quiet. If you do want to ask a question or anything halfway through, just try and signal Dave, and I'm quite happy to answer questions. I'm in my workshop at the moment, which is the Solarcan workshop. It's like a converted shop called the Taxi Office, which I call it, up in a town called Hoyk in the Scottish borders. So this is where all the magic happens. For those that you don't know what Solarcan is, it's an extreme time exposure camera capable of capturing the path of the sun, as the picture on the screen illustrates that Dave was showing. So I'm going to be sharing my screen and giving you a talk about Solarcan and how it came about and how it works for those of you who don't understand it, and maybe dispel some of those myths of what solography is or what Solarcan can do or can't do, and hopefully take some questions in the end as well, etc. So this is essentially my product that pays my mortgage, and I'm very excited about it, and I'm really, really pleased that Dave's invited me along to come and chat to you guys. So let's try and share the screen and see if we can do this. This will stop the other screen sharing. Do you want to continue? Continue, and choose this one, I think. Share, and hit play.
Perfect.
You can see it. Brilliant. Perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Fantastic. Woo! Right. I'm glad we did that right. So what you're looking at here is an image of from a Solarcan. It's one of the prototype Solarcans that I made early on back in 2016, overlooking a river, the Teviotdale River, which is in Hoyk. So what is Solarcan? This is what Solarcan is. So you'll see bottom left and top right, two different images, one of a Solarcan installed, one of a Solarcan next to its retail packaging, and two other images of the sorts of photographs that you can capture. Now, if you're unaware, a Solarcan is an extreme time exposure camera capable of capturing the path of the sun over days, weeks, months, or years. The two images you see here are 6-month-long images. One of a landscape, one of an abstract of a sky, and you see lots of lines going through that image. Some of these lines are broken, and yes, you guessed right, the broken lines are where clouds were passing through the sky, interrupting the path of the sun. Where you can see no line at all, well, we live in Britain, or I live in Scotland, so as they say, we get 4 seasons a day up here, but it could often be very cold, or we don't see a sun for a few weeks at a time. On the top right-hand one, you see Solarcan installed. That's a photograph by Matthew Robinson. Some of you may be familiar with him. He took up in Finland with the Aurora Borealis behind it. This is a somewhat confusing image because as nice as it looks, it gives the impression that Solarcan can capture the Aurora Borealis, or stars indeed, which it cannot. But we'll go through that a bit later. So I'd like to introduce myself. And I've always struggled with this. My name's Sam Cornwell, ARPS, MSc, if you like letters after your name. One's Royal Photographic Society, the other one's university. But I've always struggled with what I am. I'm an engineer because I had a computer business one time, large computer business down in Portsmouth. I'm a photographer by trade, and I used to earn my living doing that. But that kind of got boring, so I became an artist with my camera, and that developed into other things, which also developed into being an astronomer. So I'm really unsure of what I am, and then Solarcan came along and I became an inventor. So what am I? I'm not sure what I am. Here's me holding a wet plate photograph I took while I was in my chemical wet plate stage, making things like that. So just a few images of photographs to give you some sort of confidence that I know what I'm doing with a camera. Here is what I call the Annular lunar eclipse by a ball in Tenerife, one of those balls that float across the sky in Tenerife. I jumped out of my car with my Canon camera, and I looked up and I saw the moon right next to one of these balls, and I couldn't believe it. They were almost the same size, and I thought I'd pop this picture in as we have an annular eclipse on its way in the next few days. Portraits, I can manage a portrait or two, landscapes, exciting scenes, and abstract scenes, as well as nightscapes. This was the year they lit up the borders all blue. I was commissioned to run around the borders, take photographs of all the big historical buildings. And I eventually became an artist working with my photography. But most importantly to this talk was this photograph here. And if your screen's big enough or it's a high enough resolution, you'll see a little bite out of that sun. That's Venus as it's finishing its transit from 2012, June the 6th. It was a very exciting day for me. I'd always been very interested in astronomy. I knew this was coming, and I set up far too early on a mountain, not really knowing what I was doing. Before all the astronomy clubs arrived, it was cloudy. I didn't think I was going to get anything, and I captured that, which ended up winning one of the Astronomy Photography of the Year competitions with Greenwich. And this isn't a gloat, but what this gave me was confidence to go on and do something else in the astronomy community, because it felt really nice meeting all these astronomers and these photographers, and both the same things, that I felt confident enough to go and make this a bit of a career for myself. So I found myself at Kilda Observatory, first as the astrophotography teacher, only wide field stuff, not deep sky equipment. So teaching people wide field, like landscape astrophotography, which we see all over the place these days. And then later as the art director. So that's the art and the astronomy side. But I'm also a bit of an inventor, and I work with lots of different materials. Here's some floppy wood. Why did I put this slide in a floppy wood? But there we go. I laser cut wood and I turned it into a floppy material. 3D printing and laser cutting and aluminium melting and concrete with fabric forming. And most recently in Edinburgh, I had installation of what we call an infinity icosahedron, which exemplified what recycling is to people. But this was a commission. We won't go on about too much. And finally, where does the invention come in? It's with Solarcan, and that's my little product there. But what you want to know is, how does it work? So how does Solarcan work? Well, it's quite simple, really. You take your Solarcan and you pop it up outside. It comes with a couple of cable ties, and you place it on a drain pipe or a fence post or a tree or your window or something like that, and leave it from 1 day to 6 months. Make sure it's facing south, as long as you're in the southern hemisphere, which I suspect most of us are here. And you leave it. So optimum time would be 6 months, and as you're astronomers, you'll understand what I mean by that, because that's solstice to solstice, or as I like to call it, Solarcan day to Solarcan day, where people put their Solarcans up and take them down, and you let the sun do the rest. And when you take it down, you get a tin opener, you open the end of the Solarcan and you reveal the image that's inside. So you'll find a bit of photographic paper inside with some obscure and unusual lines across it. And then you invert it in Photoshop or using your phone or Photo Infinity or Affinity that Dave was talking about, or Lightroom, and that's when the magic happens. Wow, so you've got your masterpiece. But how did it all begin? Why did I come up with this idea? Was it my idea? Where did it come from? And how did we get from something that was in my head to a product that we all know now as Solarcan? Well, it was the 21st of December 2016, and I saw online of beer can pinhole photography cameras. It's quite a mouthful. And I'd seen this for, God, the last 10 years or so, people making experiments, etc., trying these things out. And I thought it's about time I tried one of these out. And I went down to Sainsbury's and I bought the cheapest beer I could find, which was grotesque, by the way. And I ended up pouring it all away, I'm sorry to say, but this was 15 pence a can or something like that. I got some old expired photographs from my caravan and I made 8 of these, and I gave them away to my family because I thought, well, Christmas is coming up. I don't have a lot of money. Here you go. You can have these unusual camera things. And they were a real hit. They loved them. And the results they produced were absolutely lovely, which was really nice. But, you know, once I gave them away, I thought, you know, with my capitalist hat on, I thought, you know what, I could make some money out of these. This could be a product. I think people will want to buy these. So I went back to this and I bought some more expensive beer and I made some more expensive solography cameras. And yeah, Foster's, of course. I did drink these ones, slightly better than the Sainsbury's beer. And I knocked them up, took some nice photos and made a product for sale and popped it on Etsy. So it's a website, a bit like eBay, a bit like Amazon. And I put them up for $12. Quite cheap. Everything was made. It came with instructions, etc. I put 8 of them up. But guess how many sold? Guess. You don't have to shout out loud. I won't be able to hear you anyway. I'll tell you. 0. None sold. And I was devastated. But knowing myself, I really wanted to prove myself right because I knew there was a product here that could be done. And this is the point where the pinhole solography camera became a design project. So what I thought about this, that it didn't look good. People didn't want to hold it. People didn't want to buy it. I had to turn that into something that looked nice. So it became a design product. So I turned it into, see if you can spot it there on the screen. You'll find a Solarcan hidden somewhere in amongst those other alcoholic beverages. So how long did I give myself to make this? So we're in January of 2017, and I gave myself 1 week and £100 put aside to make this sort of thing happen. And here's my first prototype where I'm trying out a different label, thinking, the Solography pinhole camera just doesn't have a nice ring to it. But very quickly and very luckily, I came up with a nice name and logo, which worked very well. But then the real pain started, and I've got pages and pages of this trying to figure out how to make this prototype, because it turns out that it's a lot more difficult than it looks. It's harder to make the product as it exists today than I thought it would be. I thought 1 week and £100. I was very, very wrong. To start, I had aluminium cans, very virgin ones, the first ones. And to buy any meaningful amount, I had to go straight to the manufacturer who produced 6 billion a year. 6 billion, that's 6 and 9 zeros after it. One down in Carlisle near me. And I couldn't buy just a couple. They wouldn't give them away. I had to buy an entire pallet of 3,510 aluminium cans. And remember, I just want to make a single prototype. So I'm sat there with 3,500 Solarcans, which inadvertently, I wasn't sure how to unwrap and I made a bit of a mess of it. But I had my daughter helping me anyway. I wonder if you could see this if I hit play. And I've had to do that several times since as well. Thank you, Olive. But that's just the aluminium cans, the virgin aluminium cans. That doesn't include the lids. And this is where the real shock came. So lids, you also have to buy on a pallet. And there's also a minimum order required of 227,000. So distinctly remember about 2 weeks umming and ahhing if I should pay the cost of 227,000 lids to make my single one prototype. Luckily, I found a third party who was able to give me several sleeves of lids, and I only had to buy 1,800 to make that first single Solarcan. In addition to that, just imagine, I nearly bought 227,000 lids. I still think of that today. So in addition to that, we also had to buy machinery and find ways of getting the Solarcan lid onto the Solarcan. And this is something that really didn't exist on a small scale back when I started. Nowadays, you can find them fairly easily, and that's because craft brewing has really taken a turn for the up. However, back then, I found one through a survivalist expert who cans his own food and drink, etc. So I bought one from him, and I'm still using that today. And obviously a very nice pillar drill I've got there on the side. But it's all very expensive, and I didn't have money coming in, and I'd only set aside £100, and I'm sure you can guess that I put a lot more into this already. So this funding had to come from Uber. I started taxiing as an Uber driver for some time, which I don't recommend to anybody. It makes a lot of money very, very quickly, but it is incredibly exhausting, and it takes a lot of hours. But there we go. That's what I had to do to achieve my little dream of a beer can pinhole solography camera. Another question I commonly get asked is how did I do the testing for the size of the drill bit? Well, I found that the most efficient, the best size to make that aperture on the side of the Solarcan was 0.4mm drill bit, which I used and was able to test it. So the final hurdle that I came to was I'd run out of money completely. Credit cards were full, money had all gone. And labels had been ordered. I had to order 2,000 labels as well as a minimum quantity for this very single one. And they arrived all white, the wrong colour. So you see the ones on the left there are white instead of the clear ones on the right-hand side. And I had to find the extra money to buy the clear ones as well on top, due to the manufacturer's mistake, which is a bit of a shame. But these are the trials and tribulations that you come to. Anyone want to guess how long it took and how much it cost me to make that very first single Solarcan? I know I can't hear you, but I'm going to tell you anyway. You can shout for joy if you got it right. It took 4 months and £5,000 to make the very first Solarcan. So I had it there. I had this thing, this product that existed. It looked very nice in my hand, but if we refer back to the idea that it was an idea of design and making it look nice and something that people wanted to purchase, there was a whole other thing that had to come with it, taking really nice photographs of the product so it could translate well on screen so people could see it and want to buy it rather than look like a phone shot of a Foster's beer can. So I did some nice little tricks, as you learn as a photographer, to make something look very nice. And we had lots of coloured images and clear images, which really did the trick, I think. Well, it did prove itself as doing the trick, and we're still using them today. So now we come to selling the first Solarcan. So how would I sell it? I'm not going to be putting these on Etsy. I've put far too much effort into this. To raise the funding, I always had in mind of using a Kickstarter. So Kickstarter is the original crowdfunding platform, and I've always waited for the right time for the right product to come along for me to launch. And I remember it was April, it was about 3 a.m. in the morning. I'd finished writing everything, I'd finished a video, and I was knackered. And I got a notification through saying it's ready to launch if you want to hit go, because it had been processing previously and checked over by the administrators of the website. And I hit launch at 3 a.m. in the morning. And there it is. Congratulations, your product is officially live. So it was a scary moment for me. But within a few minutes, maybe less than a few minutes, within a minute, I had my first pledge. So someone pledged to buy the can. If you've not heard of Kickstarter, by the way, it's where you can raise funding for all sorts of different products. There we go. So I knew something was happening. here is the talk. So I'm going to press play on this, but if it's not going to be working properly, Dave, can you pop back online and let me know, and I'll just pause it. But this is the 2-minute introduction that I gave to Solarcan when we first launched it on Kickstarter.
Hi, and welcome to my first ever Kickstarter, where I'd like to talk to you about Solarcan, a fully functional extreme time exposure camera capable of capturing the path of the sun through the day sky. Confused? Well, with Solarcan, people of all ages and abilities will be able to create unique images like this, or this, or this. Let me explain to you how the Solarcan works. When it first arrives, getting started couldn't be easier. Just look for a nice spot to place it outside or a sun-facing window inside and make sure it's secure, then remove the black tab. Immediately, light will be able to pass through the pinhole and begin exposing an image on the photographic paper inside. The minimum exposure time is around a week. However, bear in mind that the longer you leave it, the more impressive the sun's path will look. During the summer, the sun is higher in the sky, whereas in the winter, much lower. When your time is up, well, you simply run out of patience, remove your Solarcan and bring it indoors to reveal the photograph that you have captured. Using a standard tin opener, remove the Solarcan lid and retrieve the photographic paper inside. Finally, take a digital picture of your image using your phone camera or computer scanner and invert the colours using a free photo editing app. Your masterpiece will then be created. But first, we need your help. The process of bringing Solarcan to life has meant the purchase of machinery and all the raw materials ready to begin manufacturing. There's enough in the workshop for a first run of 1,000 complete Solarcans. By backing any one of our reward options on the left, you'll be helping me and my team turn Solar into a commercial reality and help spread a product born out of a love of photography across the globe. Rewards start incredibly low, so here's your chance to get the first mass-produced camera of its kind. Thank you for watching, and I hope I've convinced you to back us.
Okay, round of applause, please. Woo, well done. Anyway, it took 36 hours to reach my funding goal. I set a funding goal of £2,500, which is half the amount of money that I'd spent. So the money, it was scarily quick how fast it was rolling in, but it came in very quick and I was very pleased. And I knew that it was going to be a product, and I was able to right there and then quit Uber driving, which was a nice thing to do. Some big websites like Petapixel and Design Boom and Digital Camera Photography all featured Solarcan, so it really did pick up. And it was running for 1 month, and we achieved quite a milestone, and we raised £25,000, which was 1,000% of the funding target, in just the 1 month. So right then I had to start building. So these were the different sorts of funding options we had there. So getting to work, I used child labour. This is one of my children there helping out. Now, I didn't really, but I do use this photo when I'm advertising workshops, etc., to let parents know that it's safe to bring their children along so they can make solography cameras and Solarcan, so they can learn a bit about astronomy and photography together. But there was lots and lots of hard work. Applying the labels was easily the most difficult part. I now have a label application machine, which I can use here, and it's very, very quick. But previously, I did the first 2,000 by hand. Just imagine the first 2,000 by hand, good grief. And of course, using a dark room to install. Employ people to cut work and do cutting and moving and chains, and very, very quickly we reached that first 1,000. But the Kickstarter sold very close to 2,000 for the first one, so it really took about a month. If you're interested, it still now takes about 5 hours to make 100 Solarcan, and we're up to number, let me see here, 7,800. So we're still going quite quickly and quite strong. Posting them out, this is how they used to go out, which I find very embarrassing now. We've changed the way we ship them, but we had this red tape very ominous looking, look like little pipe bombs sending around the country, etc., or 5-packs like that, which were a real nightmare actually, shipping these boxes out. However, we did upgrade the shipping about a year later and upgrade the packaging to make it really smart and retail packaged, which is really nice. So that's where we ended up today. So I'm just going to come off screen share for a second, if I can find my mouse. Escape, is it? And stop share. Hi everyone. Yeah, so this is the product that we have now. So this is what it looks like, and I'll just open it up and show you, and then we'll talk about the community results. So inside we've got some cable ties inside there, and we still have what we call the Solarcan Classic. So this is how they originally were shipped. So it has all the instructions on the side, but with the new retail packaging, we also had something I'm very proud of, a manual that goes with each one, which gets updated every single Solarcan day, otherwise known as the solstice, less commonly known as the solstice, which has images from the community which we share. So I'm just working on booklet number 5, so this will be the 5th Solarcan day, which will be released in a few weeks' time. This has all the instructions and the science behind it, which makes it a really nice lockdown astronomy gadget, camera, etc. project that people can use. So I'm very pleased with how it looks. And you can't see, but all around me here, I've got Solarcan everywhere because I've got a large order heading off to the States start of next week, which I have to get out of the door. So it's been very, very busy here on the run up to Solarcan Day. Lots of orders, people ready for the big day so they can get their things installed. And I've been trying to make quite a buzz about it online, which has been very exciting. So we'll go back and have a look at the community images, because this is really the best stuff, I think. So I'm going to share the screen again and hit play. Okay. So community results. This is from what I call the Solarcan Nation. We've got thousands of members in the community, with them being sold all over the world, from here to New Zealand, from Tokyo to California, to Senja to Russia. They're everywhere. They've been to Iran, they've been to North Korea. So it's very exciting. They've been all over the place. We've seen all sorts of different shots. But first, very close to home, I put a few images up for inspiration. So these are ones I took myself, which were very carefully made, and a lot of thought went into them. This one was from what I did made for, and that's just a lock near me called Willie Struther Lock. So you might notice there that reflections appear really well in a Solarcan image. On top of reflections, this is Leatherfoot Viaduct, and this is a Solarcan image that's facing east. So you're not seeing the top of the date here. You're seeing some strange optical results where the light is turning and bending around the photographic paper on the inside, and you're seeing the sun rise every morning and sleek off on the left there, which is actually up higher into the sky. Very confusing, very difficult to get your mind around. But it's nice to see a silhouette of an object in your Solarcan images. And here's a few more of people made, and I often show this as well. So different ways you can make it. So let's start with the community images. Here we have Rex Forrester. This was a really lovely image, and it's probably the best reflection that we've seen. So this was very unexpected for Rex. He was very surprised when he saw it. That reflection was from a skylight. So something that's bright enough to reflect the sun will always look fantastic, and I thought that looked really, really lovely. Here, Robert Shaw, one of the early ones as well, a 6-month Solarcan. He tilted his Solarcan up slightly, so a few degrees up, so he was able to capture the height of summer sun. You will notice in other ones that the summer sun is cropped off. That will be because the Solarcan isn't tilted up according to your location in the world. We can talk about this in the questions and answers later. So this one was facing not due south, which is why you get the lovely sloping curve. Chuck Miller, New York State Fair. This still absolutely blows me away every time I see it. It's a truly artistic and one of the very, very first early ones. He chose to make it black and white, and you've got dappling of light through the tree leaves, I assume, on that top half, and then the tree leaves drop, and you've got a clear path of the sun after that. And it's really, really something else. Quite a magical image. Reminds me of Gargantuan if you've seen the movie Interstellar. This is Adam Scott in Barcelona, so in Spain, and you see they get a lot more sun there. Lucky things, aren't they? But this is Yarrow Frost, who had it for a week in the Scottish borders, and despite it being only one single line there, I think it's an absolutely stunning image, and it's one that I do keep returning to. Very, very pretty indeed. This girl went on to do some great things by all accords from her teacher. Here's Gordon Bone from Canada, another beautiful one. He's really unsure what happened on the left hand there, where it looks like there was a single day of the Solarcan moving across the sun, but it's still nice anyway. It really fills that part of the frame. Something slightly peculiar and interesting is water damage. I'm asked a lot of times, how do you prevent water getting in? Well, you prevent it getting in by just not facing it towards the prevailing weather. And maybe people like water coming in, I guess, because this is Alan Bacon's one from London here. And I've seen from community response that Solarcan images with water damage is a desirable result. Lucky me, huh? Which is really nice. So we see this time and time again. If you have a look through the Solarcan Instagram page, you'll see maybe one in every 30 or 40 has got some water damage in it, and it's usually the most popular of those images. Here's Catherine Ryan Hyde. She's a famous author of the film and book Pay It Forward, and it was nice to have someone famous say they've been using it. She's also an astrophotographer. You can find her on Twitter. This one by Adele Richardson. Interesting story here. You can see it's on its side, but when Adele did this, she opened it up, she scanned it, she sent it to me, and it was not in this orientation. And she was very disappointed with the result because a cow had moved it. She has pet cows, and this is where that huge gap had happened. And I said, come on, you've still got a really beautiful abstract image there. I turned it on the side and I thought it looked like a beautiful flame from a fire. But some of the community really, really do get creative. This is Michael Franznak from Alaska. He built a rig and he turned it a few degrees every week, and it turned up with this sensational and very unusual abstract image. And it's just lovely to know that communities out there making all these unusual and weird results, and we'll see some more of them later. Howard Hurd, an absolutely incredible, stunning image there, with water damage along the top, looking at Portsmouth's Guild Hall. Dan Pye, I posted this picture on Twitter today, and I'm sure all of you will recognise the Angel of the North, but it's just a shame that he didn't get the sun's path going behind it. Maybe he can try again. Matthew Robinson, who does appear quite a bit in the Solarcan community results because he has had all the extremes. If there is a bucket list of Solarcan things to do, he's done them. This is Finland. He was out there a couple of years ago, and this is evidence of the sun's first light as it starts rising above the horizon, because he was living in the land of the the daytime night, whatever it's called, the longest days, etc. So he started seeing the sun rising above the horizon again, and it created this really eerie, misty, dark look. But Matt also worked in the Maldives, very, very close to the equator, and very, very wet too, and he saw the sun passing vertically. So it's very, very amazing. And to bring us back full circle, this is the most exciting image to me. This is by Al Knapp. What makes this special is Al submitted it to the Astrophotography Awards, and he was let into the book. So I think it was last year, he was published in the Astronomy Photographer of the Year Awards, and he was published in the book, and he was invited to the big show at awards section. So it really felt like the achievement that I had back in 2012 or 2013, which led me to having a semi-career in astronomy, then a career in astronomy and astrophotography, which led me to Solarcan, has come back round because someone else, and one of my community members, has been able to go there and experience it for themselves. And that's a real full circle and a nice thing for me. There's been so many unusual things happening. One chap and his girl came up, Ruth and John Ellis, and they bought 30 Solarcan. I thought, what's this guy doing? Well, it turns out, and I had no idea he was doing this, he gifted them to all his friends and family, and after 4 months, they got together and held an exhibition in a hall where they could show all their Solarcan images. So it's the first Solarcan exhibition. It was without my knowledge, and it just happened one day, and you can just imagine how excited I was. So that was really lovely to see. Lauren Davies, and there's only a few more of these, so if you're getting bored and you want to ask questions, we won't be long. Lauren Davies works at sea on the frigates, and this is HMS Northumberland. You can see an out of focus Solarcan on the right hand side there looking out to sea, and she took it out to sea for 6 weeks, and the result was, well, to me, absolutely mind-blowing. You can see a 6-week Solarcan image there. There's suns passing in different directions, but what's really, really interesting is if you look closely, you can see the oscillations of the sun as this gigantic boat rocks backwards and forwards, slowly, taking several minutes at a time to rock. And I think that is absolutely wonderful. It's a real interesting way to read that image back and think about the science. I'm quite a fan of space, and especially SpaceX and launches. I've been watching the career of SpaceX for well over a decade now, and tuning into all their launches. So it seems quite surreal now that everybody does it these days. I've got a friend over there called Tom Cross, who takes photographs of Falcon 9 launches, etc. And I asked him, is a rocket launch as bright as the sun? Because the point I'm making is the only thing that's bright enough to appear in a Solarcan image is the sun. So it's either the sun or the sun reflected or something that the sun's bouncing off, etc. And he said, yes, definitely. You can't look at it. It's so bright. I said, wow, okay. So can we set some Solarcan up there and capture a Falcon 9 launch? And he did. And it was really, really wonderful. So there's the Falcon 9 rocket on before the free rocket. And here's the resulting image, which was a 2-day exposure, actually. He had to return and place it back in the same place. And as you can see, the rocket on the right-hand side there, you can't see any exhaust from the rocket. Here's another one, inverted of the other one. So it turns out the rocket light isn't bright enough. It was an interesting experiment. It's wonderful to have a Falcon rocket in a Solarcan image. I love that. And I tried to tell everybody that every single Solarcan is as much as an experiment as it is a camera. So you're trying something out, maybe trying something new, and then reading it back afterwards, which is really interesting. Very early on, we had this absolutely sensational image by Don Claudio in 2017. Savvy ones of you will recognize what this immediately. It is the Great American Eclipse of 2017. And I knew I'd shipped a load of Solarcan out to America just after the Kickstarter had finished. So it was there in time. And I'm so pleased that this guy managed to catch it. So that's 2 minutes of totality that you can see there, a perfectly clear sky. Otherwise, it's only a shame that he didn't leave the Solarcan staying up for the rest of the day. So really, really extraordinary to see that come in from a community member. But back to our good friend Matthew Robinson, who was in Finland and then in the Maldives. Well, he went to Chile last year. And what did he catch? None other than the Chile total solar eclipse. So well done to Matthew Robinson for managing that. So we've got 2 bona fide eclipses caught on Solarcan, which is something which in the instruction manual we mark as the hardest thing to do with a Solarcan, which is lovely. There's a few experiments that we do every 6 months. This is the Solarcan matrix. Every single week, I installed 7 overlooking that lock, which I showed you earlier. And every single week, I took down a single Solarcan to show the changes that we get. So top left hand there, you see week 1, and bottom, you see week 26, and an additional one just in case. And you can see down in the bottom right hand corner there where it was positioned and what it was overlooking. Now, what I was able to make on this was the very first Solography time lapse. So we can see it moving up and down, or moving up there. So you can see it rushing through the week. So that's a 6-month time lapse of Solography there. One chap, James Lucas, built a contraption. Well, he started building this contraption. It ended up looking like this. And this is just absolutely bizarre in a really wonderful way. He built a shutter for the Solarcan. So he built a servo motor in front of the Solarcan, so it opens and shuts when he chose it to, or could write a code. And he was able to open and shut it at intervals like this, which was amazing. So that's a single day of sunshine from the UK. And then he really surprised me, and he sent me this. I'll just give it a couple of seconds on the screen, because, yeah, that's SOLARCAN in Morse code. So a single day, he spelled Solarcan out in Morse code. Just amazing, breathtaking for me, very, very exciting. A more recent project that we did with Solarcan was the Octolemma, so 8 different Solarcan facing all different directions and different orientations, out for 6 months of the year, so saw rain and shine, and then we were able to give it the results so people could see if they orientated it a certain way, what would they get. So that's the lemma. And last year, we entered the world stage by going to the photography show. We paid for a stand and a booth there, and it was great to meet the community, etc., and really start to grow our business. And as you can probably well imagine, everybody who walked past us said, "Have you turned those big barrels into a Solarcan yet?" Well, yes, I have. So that was me last year. I've got it out there now in the garden. It's a Solarcan. It's got 8 massive bits of photographic paper in there, and it's currently exposing a gigantic Solarcan. So that's where we are at the moment. Apart from all the different things that I'm doing, that's how you can find me online. Here I am, happy to take any questions and talk to you about Solarcan, and I'm even happy to give you a discount code if you want to purchase one. So just let me know if it's something that would interest you. But I find Solography and Solarcan, astronomy and photography, very, very, very exciting. The reason I do this is because it ticks all of my boxes. I knew that because my interest stayed after 6 months, I knew that it was something I was able to do for long term. And here we are, 3 years, 6 months later, and I still love it as much as I did the first time. I've even got my own jumper. There we go. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed that, everyone. I hope I've not been talking to nobody for the last 40 minutes or so, 45, 50 minutes, but that would be fairly embarrassing. But can someone speak up?
Absolutely fantastic, Sam. Thank you very much. Excellent. Great to see people experimenting with that sort of thing. Absolutely.
Very good.
Questions?